You know, in my shop, I can't afford a lot of these super fancy tools, and I need to buy the best value. So I was looking at the, let's just call it a standard, I don't know. I've never been able to afford one to know how great they are, but those woodpecker tools are supposed to be super great tools. Set of parallel guides that look identical pretty much. So I don't know if there's a case for IP theft or not on this, but they're $449. I can't afford that for a pair of lug guides that I may only use 2 or 3 times a year. However, I do want something that is going to be good and useful. So I've got the Enjoywood ones here, and I've got the Goingmake ones here. I think, I just looked up, these are on sale for $75.99, and these are $199. So over twice as expensive for the Goingmake compared to the Enjoywood, but still half of what it would cost for woodpeckers. So stick around and I will show you the difference between these, and you can decide which one best suits your purpose. Now, I'm not nitpicking here, but you see there's 2 channels on the top and 1 on the bottom. So the extrusions are completely different. And these extrusions are narrower. And where that comes into play is when you're fixing the tracks together, they have 2 tracks on the bottom to where you can lock in 2 sets of retainers to give you a good solid clamping. Whereas with the red ones, which are the same as, you know, so like the woodpeckers, they only have the 1 in the middle. Now that still locks it in. It seems to be good and tight. So I can't necessarily say that's a bad thing or good thing. It's just, it does feel like these, one, are a little bit heavier. The aluminum feels like it is thicker than the red ones. And then here on your attachment bar, you see how this drops down. On the Goingmake ones here, this is solid. So this is over a 1/4 inch thick right here, whereas where it comes down and attaches right there is only about 1/8 of an inch thick. Does that make a difference? I don't know. So the Enjoywood ones come with 2 sets of stops for each one of our tracks. And then you can flip it over here and move it to get it set in, and then lock it in position, and then would flip down to let your wood come up here for the stop. So now the Enjoywood one, we can come over here and we have this big nice sight glass here, and then we can lock that down. And then if we was to make a, say, a test cut, and our piece needed to be just a little bit more, we can come over here to this dial and loosen it up, and we can make adjustments by the thousandths. And you see it moves the whole thing in and out. This right here is the reason why I would buy, is I can lock this in place, and then I can make those fine adjustments. If I come over here and set this one, and then I need to make a fine adjustment, I have to loosen it up and kind of bump it. Oh, did I go too far, or back and forth? Now, with our Goingmake, we have both centimeters and inches, whereas the Enjoywood, you have to decide which set of measurements you want, and it only has the 1. So since I'm here in the States, I've got the inch one. Something I really like is I can take and come over here and put my square to my rubber edge, and then I can slide this up. So now I can lock this down, and you see I'm about a 1/16 out. I can sit here and I can slowly move that in where I'm exactly on my line here. And now that I know that my stop is sitting exactly at 15, I can look in here, and now I can move this sight glass here over, and I can get that exactly on my 15. So now I know that my indicator here, when it says it's on 15, that my stop over here is exactly at 15. Here, the only thing with the Enjoywood I can do is go ahead and try to get that lined up on the 15, lock that down, and then we can flip this over. All right, we put our square up here and slide it up. Now we are about 1/16 of an inch away from 15 there. Check it, yeah, we're dead on 15 there. So we are out. And the only real way that we could adjust this would be to loosen these screws here up and slide the whole track out a little bit. I don't like that, however, because the way these are made is there's a shoulder that these slide up to, and when you lock everything in like it's supposed to, that keeps it square. Now, if I'm loosening this up and sliding it out, there is the potential for it to get out of square, in my opinion. And not only that, but the difficulty of trying to now get this here, right there, lock it back down, and get it exact is definitely a lot cruder than with the Goingmake. However, as you see, we are now on 15, just like what we are over here on 15. So you can get these set. Now, originally I didn't really get what these here were for, but now that I have used them a little bit, I kind of get it. So what we do here is we have these rods, and now we can slide in here, and it's got a Teflon end stop here we can put on this. And what this is going to do is, if you're cutting boards that are shorter than, say, from here to there, where we can't get our guide to go all the way up, what you would do is take this, put it underneath, and now it slides up into our stop here. And so if we're wanting to cut like a 2-inch board, there is a side scale here, and then you should be able to put your side scale to 2-inch, and then that'd be 2-inch. So to get that zeroed out, what we would do is we would take like a little square like this, and then we'll slide underneath till we touch, and then we would want to make sure that that's zero. Now, on our side scale here, I can go ahead, lock that in at 0, and then here I have about 1/16 hanging over. But what I would do is I would loosen my set screw here, push this tight, and then I would tighten my set screw up. Now we're locked in, and so we have our short scale set. Now, in contrast, the Goingmake, you got the little rod, and it screws all the way in here. It actually comes with a small wrench that could grip a hold of the little flat right here on this bar to make sure that this is screwed in good and tight. So that is, you know, solid up into there. And now on the Goingmake, you have the separate short scale on the inside of the numbers here, so they're straight across. And so what you would do is you would slide this under, and kind of in the same way here, we would go through, lock that down, that is at 0, and then we would make sure that our indicator here is sitting on 0. There's actually the little tick on the bottom and the top, and so now that that's set on 0, which came out exactly perfect. Now, I guess how your saw set up is you cut off more or less of the chip guard, but on mine with the PowerTech track, when I zeroed it on the top to the stop here, and then when I slid this in, they both came out exactly right without having to redo any adjustment. All right, so which one is the best choice? Well, it's hard to say. $80, you can't go wrong. I've used this particular set for over a year and a half, built a complete kitchen for my daughter using it, and the only thing I can say is I didn't use the scale. When I tried using the scale, I was off by about 1/16 on everything. If I mark my board, put my track where I want to cut at, and then slide the stop up and lock it into place, and then I can repeat that cut over and over again. worked much better for me. I like the for the short board. I think that the Goingmake is definitely a far superior design. Put it in the comments. Tell me which ones you think are the best value, because not always the cheapest is the best value, depending on your job, and always the not always is the more expensive one the best product. So until next time, I hope everybody has a wonderful day.